Hello there, and welcome to this Forever Living Products special training on using the First Steps to Manager guide to build your business. Thank you for joining us today. Our broadcast is originating from the International Home Office here in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona, where we're enjoying a wonderful sunny day. My name is Bill Lewis, and I'll be your host for today. We're pleased to share with you a special pre-recorded training by one of our sales leaders from the United Kingdom, Diana Page. Diana is a very successful Sapphire manager who has achieved Chairman's Bonus 4 years running. She's a 5K Global Rally Achiever and participates in the top tier of the Forever to Drive incentive. Her presentation was originally given to a meeting of our country managers in Singapore, and we were so impressed with Diana's step-by-step approach to helping her new FBOs get started that we wanted to share it with all of you today. If you have questions, there's a space in your control panel where you can submit them. At the end of Diana's remarks, I'll be back to answer as many as time permits. So let's get started with Diana Page.
Hi everyone. It is a huge privilege and an honor to have been invited to come and share some of my experience with you today. This is the training I would do to my team. So I just did this 2 weeks ago to my group. So I'm going to pretend you're all in my team and you're all building global businesses. Is that okay? So we'll do it as if I was teaching you to do it, all right? So we always start with, what is the sponsor's role? The sponsor's role is really quite simple. It's to build a vision, to drive their business forward, and in simple terms, it means to help them get some customers and recruit some people quickly. Because if they can recap the investment of their distributor pack and recruit in their first few weeks, then the retention is going to be much higher. And that's our job. You know, we can't expect them to know everything we've learned in the time that we've been in Forever. So that's the driving force behind this book. We always do, or our aim is to do, first planning meetings within 48 hours of people getting started. That's whether they have their pack or not, because that's when excitement levels are high. And that's when the new person is looking for something to do, because they've just registered, they're excited, they can think of people they want to speak to about the business already, so it's within 48 hours of getting registered. So within 48 hours, whether you're face-to-face or online. So we do encourage everybody to use technology, whether it's Skype or Google Hangout or GoToMeeting or FaceTime or every other version available. It works both ways, face-to-face or online. So it doesn't matter where you are around the world, we still use the same system. So we talk about us getting ready and also preparing the new Forever business owner for their first planning meeting so we can make it as productive as possible. So as soon as someone gets registered with us, we'll add them to our team Facebook group straight away with a welcome comment. And it's the culture in our team. As soon as someone gets welcome, they get a number of welcome posts as well. So they're immediately welcome and taken under the arm of the team. We also send them a welcome email. Now, it could be a WhatsApp message, it could be a Facebook message, however you speak to these people, but there's something in writing which says welcome. So now the sponsor has to get ready for the planning meeting. And we encourage each of our team members to have what we call a planning folder. So that planning folder is ready to go at a moment's notice, whether you're brand new or whether you've been in the business a long time. And we find, actually, the longer you've been in the business, the more complacent you can get, because you've done so many planning meetings that can get a bit boring if you're not fully prepared for it. And that's letting the new team member down. So we encourage everybody to have a planning folder which is ready to go. And in that planning folder, we always have 2 copies of the First Steps to Manager, because of course if you're doing the first planning meeting in the first 48 hours of the new business owner getting registered, they may not have their pack, because in the UK, in their pack, they do get a copy of the First Steps to Manager. Or if they do have their pack and it's a couple working the business together, we always want them to have their individual copy, as they will only get 1 copy in the pack. So 2 copies of the First Steps to Manager, a copy of my goals, some of the goals that I have already achieved, and some of the goals that I'm working towards. I have copies of my bonus statements from when I went supervisor, assistant manager, my first £5,000 a month bonus statement, and my first £10,000 a month bonus statement. I will take my who do you know list, I will take my activity tracker, and I'll take my diary. I'm going to show you how I use all of those tools. But the one phrase or the philosophy is, if you show people as opposed to just tell them, they'll remember a lot more. So in everything we do, it's about show. Show them everything. And it also helps the sponsor to be properly mentally ready. So we'll also take our Forever magazine, our product launch materials, and a diary, or your iPad or your laptop. So now the new person is ready, and the sponsor is ready. So we start the meeting, and I have to say right from the beginning, our first planning meeting is only maximum of 90 minutes long. And sometimes we don't get through it all, sometimes we do, but 90 minutes is probably the maximum amount of time someone can take on board and retain all this new information. So it's really easy. So we've opened the book, and the first page is your why. So we talk a lot about what's important to them. And this is where now we start looking at the tool. And it's like any tool. It's either really, really useful or not useful at all. The difference is in how you use it. And so we take a lot of time to train our sponsors on how to help people identify their why or their goals. We will ask them, if someone says, I want, and this is what I got wrong when I was first started out in Forever. If people were to say, well, I just want more time, or I'm looking for extra income, I wasn't being specific enough. Well, we really coach that you must be absolutely specific. If someone wants more time, how much more time? What will you do at that time when you've achieved it? How will you know, or what will your day or your week or your life look like when you've achieved that goal of more time? What will you do then that you're not doing now? Or if someone says, I want more money, well, how much more money? What will you do then that you're not doing now? Why is that important to you? How will you feel if you don't achieve it? Because you see, we know that motivation comes from within. And we have wasted a lot of time training people who actually weren't motivated because they're not emotionally connected to their reason for doing the business. So we take quite a lot of time to really drill down and find the hooks that are going to help this person be prepared to get up a half an hour earlier or stay up half an hour later. And we use those phrases in our planning meetings. We don't hold back. If they want to earn a manager-style income, it's going to require short-term sacrifice somewhere in their existing full life. So we then ask them what their number one goal is, and we circle that. Because I want to make sure that the first 90 days are laser-like focused on what's going to get them out of bed. And with that number one goal, I then encourage them to do a vision board or a dream book. And this is where in my diary, I have examples of goals that I have already achieved, and there's some on the screen there. There's no point telling some of my goals now because it may be too far reached for them. So it's about what was I looking for in the beginning. My goal of getting to supervisor was so I could have a cleaner. My goal of getting to manager and earn that £1,000 a month was so I didn't have to get a job. I could stay at home with my kids. And I'll show them some before and after pictures. My dream goal to get on the car plan, to have a new car. I've never had a new car. I think the most I've ever spent on a car at that point was, £600. And to show them my goal book poster, which I had for 3 years, which hung in my kitchen, and I got that car. To show them the trips I wanted to have. I never ever thought I would go to Australia. That was just for other people. And yet because of this business, I was able to go. And so show them some of the early goals and explain why, because it encourages them to have the courage to actually dream big. As we get older, we shrink our dreams to fit our income. And we say, no, at Forever, we're going to do the opposite. So before and after, and I'll also show them my current goals, so give them an idea of what a vision board or a goal poster will look like. Again, it's showing them. Because if you ask someone to do something you haven't done yourself, the chances of them doing it are slim to none. So this takes probably about 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes to go through. And we send them away with the homework of, for their number one goal, which we've circled, I want to see a list of 20 reasons why that number one goal, and their vision book or their vision goal poster, dream book, whatever you want to call it, their picture storybook or board or poster, is I want to see a picture for every one of those 20 reasons. Where do they get them? I said, just go to Google Images. Say, well, how do you picture peace of mind? I said, I don't know, just put peace of mind in Google Images, something will come up that'll resonate with you. So it is coaching them to that extra level. So understanding what they're looking for, we then move on to matching it up with the marketing plan. And I take a bit of time to go through the marketing plan. I tell them not to get too hung up on all the percentages. Most people I find are like me, that the numbers, the percentages are a little bit tricky when you first hear them, and that can make people panic. And I say, it's okay, I'm going to show you it still works, even if you're not quite sure about the percentages, but it really is quite simple once you get your head around it. And we really focus on manager. Whatever their number one goal is, the first stepping stone is not supervisor, it's manager. And at manager, we say we want to have a visual image of the structure that your business is going to need. It's about 20 to 30 people in your group. You don't have to find them all. We're going to start with a few who find a few, who work with a few. And this is where I show them my bonus statements, because this is where seeing is believing. It doesn't matter if someone doesn't understand what 8% is or 3% is or 5%. But I will show them one at a time. My supervisor statement was £200. My assistant manager, my manager bonus really was £1,286. And it built up a year later, £2,800 and £5,000 and £10,000. That's believable. It shows the progression that if you just follow what we're going to take you through, it will work for you because there's nothing special about me. So having those bonus statements are a really big deal. Now, if I've got somebody who's brand new, doesn't have bonus statements to show, they can have photocopies of mine. I do blank out, as you can see on those examples, all the ID numbers and names just to protect the people who are in the business. But that's a really powerful tool. It just brings the marketing plan to life. We then move on to looking at first 5 key people, because now they're excited. They've seen that manager is a stepping stone to the bigger goals, and that recruiting or building a team is going to be the key activity to driving that growth. And it's rare. Most people really do have a list of 3, 4, 5 people already in mind that they want to share this opportunity with. And so we'll bring that in here, and we talk a little bit about who they are, and again, why manager is important. And we circle all the reasons at the bottom of the left-hand page of why manager is important. And on the right-hand side, we'll take them through the gem positions in the marketing plan, but I'll also take some time to describe, when you're a manager and you have a manager in your business, you are chairman's bonus structured. So from the very, very first planning meeting, we are talking about chairman's bonus. And as a side point, in having achieved chairman's bonus, you'll also be on the Forever to Drive program. Because if we wait, I think the danger is sometimes we wait until people get to manager before we start talking to them about the incentives. We need to be planting those seeds right at the beginning. I did a planning meeting with, she's, I don't know, 3rd or 4th generation, somebody in my group last week. And when I drilled down about her goals, the only thing that really excited her was getting an Audi R8. That's it. All this other stuff didn't matter to her. She's single, she doesn't have kids. She's a freelance makeup artist. She just wants a really fancy schmancy car. I said, great, we can get that for you this year. And if we don't tell them they can get it this year, who's going to? And that's what, for me, this page is about, the right-hand side. If they're prepared to put the time and effort in, they can have all of that this year. But chairman's bonus particularly, because that's something they will have seen and been exposed to. And I say, you've seen the pictures of the big checks that people have. Well, we're going to work on building that structure for you this year. So we then turn the page and we start. And I'll say things like, right, I'll reaffirm what their goal is, why they're setting that as their goal. So recapping the why, the goal. And I'll say, are you ready to go to work? Are you ready to roll up your sleeves and go to work? I want to make it very clear every step of the way that to achieve anything is going to be work involved. And I say that there are 3 key things that we do in Forever. We use the products, we develop and look after a handful of customers, and we recruit and develop a team to do the same. So we're going to look at each of those 3 things individually. And we talk about using the products. So you've turned the page again. Talk about using the products. And we will explain the importance of using the products. And you all know this. I won't go through all that in detail. You all know the importance of using the products. And give lots of examples of, examples that make sense to them and how they would feel if they went to their friend's house who was trying to recommend a product but they weren't using it themselves. Really describing I want them to get that emotional connection of the impact that's going to have on their business, them falling in love with the products, and that their social circle or circle of influence will be grabbed by that passion. But I also warn them that I'm going to check when I go to their house. So I encourage them. In fact, I actually say the next commitment I ask for is to do the black bin bag exercise. And the black bin bag exercise is to go around their house with their new starter pack in one hand and an empty black rubbish bag in the other hand. And everything that they can replace in their house with a product from their box, they're going to replace. They shouldn't wait to finish their toothpaste. They shouldn't wait to finish their shampoo or conditioner or deodorant or whatever it is they're using. It all needs to go in the black bag and go under the stairs. And do their own little product experiment. For the next 90 days, commit to just using the Forever products. And in 90 days, go and get that black bag out. And try your old toothpaste. Use your old soap. I said, you will be grossed out that you've been using all those products all those years. I said, but if I say it, it's me saying it. If you experience it, you'll have the passion and the belief to recommend the products to anybody. And I do warn them that I'm going to check. Because if I'm going to take time out and go to their house to host some product launches or business launches, I can tell you I'm going to check. So we then look to book some activity. We talk about the 3 or 4 key business building activities to develop customers. We use business launches or product launches in the UK really effectively. We can do them live, face-to-face, or also really effective on Skype if someone is at a distance. But I will say to them, I am happy to do your first 2 launches for you on the commitment that you do to yourself straight away within 2 to 3 weeks so that you get the benefit of the training by implementing it yourself. There's no point me doing all the work if learning comes in the doing, not just in the watching. So that's another thing about setting that commitment and that expectation in place. So we've got the retail activity underway. Everybody okay so far? Yeah. Let's turn the page. So we now say the third thing that we do is we build a team, and the route to developing more than a few £100 a month income is going to come through building a team. And I'll focus on the right-hand side for a few minutes, and I'll talk about the business cycle that we use. And I'll start with the action, so it's the left quadrant. And I'll say, this is where we are today. This is your first planning meeting, and you're here today, and I'll go backwards, because you went to a business presentation, either a live one or a recorded one or one online or over a coffee. And you went to the business presentation because, and we go backwards again, because you had some initial information, either a website or an online presentation. You've had an overview. And you had that overview, we go back again because you had a phone conversation of some sort, and we go back again because you were on someone's list. So we just reaffirm that they've just gone through that process themselves, and it's worked because they're in the business. So all we're going to do is help them take people they know through the same process that they've just been through themselves. So it makes it comfortable because it makes them feel like, well, I can do that because I'm just going to do what I've done myself. And in everything we do, it's about keeping things really, really simple and explaining it in terms that they can understand right from the beginning. Because if they can understand it, they can teach it straight away. I then take a few minutes to go through each of those sections in a little bit of detail. So we start at the top, which is their Who Do You Know list. And one of the questions on the pre-meeting planning sheet was to ask them to start working on their Who Do You Know list. And so at this time, we say, have you started your list? And most people will say yes. And so could you get that out? Did you bring it with you? And how many names have you got on your list? And it doesn't matter whether they have 10 or 50 or 150. I compliment them, praise them for getting it started. And I share with them that when I first started, and I have my list, my original list is 26 names on there. And I said, I'm going to show you my original list, which had 26. I said, I'm going to show you a little exercise that I've learned how to expand your list and the power and the gold mine you were sitting on with your list. So I first show them that the power of 100. So I say, so this is you. Oh, this thing is, sorry. So that's what's in the book. And we write in the book, for every list of 100 people you know, somewhere in your 100, if you follow our sponsoring cycle that we've just explained, based on our experience, we're pretty confident you will recruit 6, 8, 9, 10 people. 5 of those will be business builders. And all we're going to do with those 5 business builders is exactly what we're doing with you. We're going to encourage them to write a list of 100 people they know. We're going to encourage them to write a list of 100 people they know because, again, the same thing is true. In their list, they will probably recruit 6, 7, 8, 9 people, but again, 5 of them will be business builders. And we take the time to draw it out, just as we have there. And 5. And we say, and this is what a manager business will look like. And a manager business is going to give you £1,500 income a month. And so suddenly, that structure they saw a few pages ago on the marketing plan of manager, they've just now seen how they're going to do it. They just need to find 5 and help those 5 find 5. So that's for a list of 100. Now, whether they have a list of 20, 30, 50, so I'm going to show you how we're going to expand your list. So we go ahead to the memory jogger. Or in your book, you'll see this, the memory jogger. It's a few pages ahead. And I'm going to write at the top of one of their pages all the people that they know. And here's what we go through. We talk about not prejudging. We talk about not just thinking about the people who you think need money, not just the people who you think are desperate. We encourage them to think about everybody they know. Now, at this point, this is where we show them how. Because I don't know about you, but I've been in the business long enough to know that if I leave someone to do their list, they're only going to write the list of people that they feel comfortable speaking to or that they perceive need this business. So we do it a little bit differently. So I've just described that we're going to talk to everybody they know. And I say to them, can you get your phone out, please? And they look at me all a bit odd. And I say, don't worry. You're not going to have to phone anybody. Can you just get your phone out, please? So they get their phone out. And I say, can you go to the contacts, please? I've learned to drive every sort of phone lately. Can you get your contacts out, please? And they say, yeah, why? So let's go to your contacts. And I will physically look up how many contacts they have on their phone. And we're going to write it down. See? Mobile phone. On this example, we have 145. And they start saying, yeah, but some of them is like the taxi, and some of it's the school, and it's the curry takeaway. And I say, okay, so if you have 200 contacts in your phone, let's take 50 off. I'm quite generous. Take 50 off. Are you happy with that? Oh, well, I guess so. But how do I know that they'll be interested? I said, we haven't got there yet. We're just writing the list first. This is where you have to trust me. And they said, okay, well, who else do you know? Are you on Facebook? Yes. How many friends do you have on Facebook? I don't know. Check. We do it right there. It's not something I send them home to do because it doesn't get done. Check. Okay, so whatever it is, in this example, we have 453. Right. I say, no, some of them will be duplicated with your contact list, so let's take 50 off. I'm really generous. Take 100 off. Take as many as you like off. And we write it down. Are you on LinkedIn? Yes. How many contacts do you have? Okay, take 50 off of that. Write it down. You have a family? Yes. So you have children? Yes. So your children go to school? Yes. There's a teacher in the room? Yes. There are other children in the room. They have parents. They do gymnastics or football, or there's an instructor there. You know, if you don't go through that detail, they don't either. And I said, so where else do you know people? Do you go to the gym? Do you have a hobby? Yes. Who do you know there? How many people? 10, 5, 8, 58. Great. Put that down. Do you have a job? How many jobs have you had? Think about all the different jobs you've had and all the different people you've come into contact with. Do you get your teeth cleaned by the dentist? Do you have your hair cut? Do you get your nails done? Do you have a massage? Who does all that for you? And they go, yeah, but how do I know they're going to be interested? You don't know. We're just doing the list, and it costs nothing to do the list. And when we've gone through all of that, all the different people, if they go to church, their friends, work, Facebook, this is just an example, but it's going through every area of their life and coming up with a round number. And this example is, 1,058. And I say, let me show you the power of 1,058 names. Now, my maths is not great, so I have to do exactly what it says on the screen because I couldn't work it out in my head. So let's go. Oh, and we also have instructions for them how to print their Facebook friends list, how to print their LinkedIn contact list, because most people, although they use these social media tools, don't know how to take it to the next level and print out the information in a format that we can help them use in forever. So, we've gone through everybody that they know. Oh no, going ahead. And I say, you've got a list of 1,058. Let me show you how much that list is worth to you. So if we said a list of 100 is worth £1,500 a month to you, and you have 1,000 names, so that's 10 times that list of 100, then your list is worth 10 times £1,500 a month, which is £15,000 a month. At that point, people go, wow. And I don't stop there. I say, what would you do with £15,000 a month? Listen, I've done lists that have been £25,000, £30,000 a month because people know a lot of people. If they're a bit older, they've had careers which have taken them into lots of different companies with lots of people. They have lots of sports or hobbies that they do. I say, what would you do with £15,000 a month? And you see, a sponsor who is not confident will just say 100 names and move on. This is where it gets different. It's really getting them to connect with the value of their social circle. Recognizing that most people are going to say thank you, but no thank you, and it's okay. Because if you offered me a cup of tea, I'd say thank you, but I don't drink tea. It's no different. And then I say to them, right, you have 1,058 names in all those groups. If I said to you, I'm going to trade you for that 1,058 names, I'm going to trade you with a bag with £50,000 cash in it. All I want is that list with names and phone numbers. How quickly can you have that list done? Do you know what they say? Tonight? I say, then that's the urgency and the seriousness you need to attach to doing this exercise. But it really puts the emphasis on them doing the homework, that if they don't do the work, then my role kind of comes to an end. For me, that has been one of the most powerful tools, is how to explain and how to use that memory jogger, how to encourage them and motivate them to get their list done. We then take a minute to just do a little bit of volume mapping here. So are because I want them to understand the planning of their CCs from the first month. And so whether we've booked launches, they're doing the C9 and some sales of C9, buy a pop drop and buy a trial pack and share that out, recruiting 3 new people. Their first month, worst case scenario is 4 CCs. We're actually looking for them to do 10 in their first month. And we look at the 5 months to manager program, the first month is 10 CCs. We've completely taken all the mystery out of how they're going to do 10. And I've learned in my own business the bitter way, if you focus on 4 CCs, your people will do 1 and 2. If you focus on 10, they'll do 6 or 8. So we focus on 10. And it's a first month to manager. They're very, very clear of how they're going to get that 5 months to manager. It starts with all the prep work, the foundation we're going to put in place today. So we then move on to the next quadrant in the cycle. So we've looked at your who do you know list. We're now going to look at contact and show. And the contact is where people get quite nervous. I know I did. Whenever I was ready to talk to people, I always felt like my tongue swelled up like an elephant. So I tell them that. I make them feel that it's not just them. It's quite normal to be excited, but also a bit nervous when you're doing something new for the first time. So this is where we really do spend a bit of time on teaching them the words, and we do profiling. Now at this point, you could have been in the meeting over an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. I would try to time it. If they are getting things, they will do at least 5 profiles and make 5 contacts this first meeting. I want them to have a guest coming to a business presentation in the next 7 days. Because remember, that's when they're really, really excited. Their excitement on fire. They don't have the skill, but we do. This is where we work together. We say to them, you need to make pages 18, 19, and 20 your best friend. This takes all the guesswork out of what do I say when I speak to someone or message someone. My biggest fear is what if they ask me a question? Pages 18, 19, and 20 are your best friends. And I fold over the pages, I circle it, I highlight, I said, you need to just study these 3 pages. If you study nothing else in Forever, these are the 3 pages that will get you to manager quickly. Because what I want from my new person is when they get asked a question is not to go, is to have the answer right then and there. And it's all in there. We've taken all the guesswork out, but we've got to point out and ask for that commitment that they'll take some time to study it. We'll go through some profiling. There's an example, I think, is Joanne Smith in your book, in our books. And we will take 5 names and I'll say, right, the first 5 people that we referred to earlier that you think are enthusiastic, outgoing, would be fun to work with. Everybody has a few people they want to speak to quickly. So we'll take 1 name at a time. And on the profile sheet, in their book, they will fill it out. I will write it in my notes. Of course, all the way through, everything we're doing, they're writing in their books and I'm writing in my notes. So we'll fill in, if it's Mary, talk about Mary, and then he will match up Mary's profile with the words on page 20. And we've bullet pointed the conversation. And whether you're going to send someone a text message or a WhatsApp message or you're going to pick up the phone, is kind of neither here nor there. The words are the same. But it's getting them to practice. And it is role-playing. And some people find that really uncomfortable. Yep, it is. I think it's cringing even after all these years, but you know what? It works. It just works, and it's my job to make sure that person knows what they're doing when they pick up that phone. And too often, you know, if you've been in the business a while, you get a bit complacent because I can tell you profiling can be boring after you've done it for 10 years. You're doing the same thing over, but it's keeping that excitement high for that new person. So we will practice those first 3, 4, 5. They can either make the call right then and there. If they start getting asked a lot of questions, I'm happy to take the phone and answer the questions for them. We will book some one-to-ones, which I will do for them, or we'll give them the option of having a look at a website or a video clip online. I commit to doing the first 6 one-to-ones for them. It is still a really, really valuable tool. I know that in the world of technology, it's so easy just to quickly send them a 5-minute YouTube video or a 10-minute information video. We mustn't lose the personal touch, and that personal touch comes with a one-to-one. And we give people an option. You can either have a look at a video, or we can meet for a coffee or book 20 minutes to have a call, and I can take you through the career brochure. And you'll be surprised if you offer that, how many people will still opt for, I'd rather talk to you about it. So it's about helping people to identify what is the right or the best way for that person to receive that information. I talk about if they're working this business part-time, my expectation is they need to make 3 to 5 contacts a day. If they're working this business full-time, it's 5 to 10 contacts a day. And I think sometimes when sponsors are new, they're a bit reluctant to start setting the benchmark or setting the expectation of what work is going to be required. But you know what, if you don't set the expectation, people go away thinking they can speak to one person a week and get to manager in 3 days. It's not going to work. And the only people who can put them on the right path is us. So we talk a little bit about that, about how they're going to fit that in. And that really takes us to the end of the first planning meeting. In wrapping up the first session, we recap the homework, and I get them to tell me, because I already know what they're supposed to be doing. I want to make sure they know what they're supposed to be doing. And it is doing their vision board, invite people to their launches, invest in either Clean9 or the trial pack. They've made their first contacts, so how to follow up on those first contacts. Work on their who do you know list, and I want 10 people ready profiled for our next meeting. Planning meeting 2 for me is all about contacts. I want them to be recruiting quickly. The faster they recruit, the longer they'll be in the business. The second planning meeting can be within a couple of days. I don't like it to go beyond 7 days. Sometimes if people are working full-time, it's about a week because they need that time to fit it in. But if anything beyond a week, we lose the momentum. So we say within a few days, have the second planning meeting. So we recap planning meeting 1, and we go through their 10 names. And we practice what we're gonna say, whether we're gonna book one-to-ones, whether we're gonna send them a YouTube video. Will quite often make my own prospecting calls, which surprises them. They say, you still talk to people? I say, yep, funny enough, I still do. And have them listen to my calls builds their confidence. And most often people say, well, you just sound like you're having a conversation. And they say, yep, it's just a conversational business. So it's not about memorizing scripts, it's about you being your best you. So second planning meeting is really focusing on the recruiting. I want to see a lot of activity going on. I'll also show them my own activity tracker, and there's one in the book. And the activity tracker tracks people you're taking around the cycle. The headings along the top are a mirror image of the steps in the sponsoring cycle. So we're taking the time to explain the activity tracker. We look at the 7-day plan with the emphasis on prospecting and recruiting and building backup and explaining that messages don't count and phoning people who aren't there don't count. It's not the call, it's who you speak to, who you actually have a contact with. And we also talk a little bit about time management and where they're going to fit this in. And always relating it back to their goal. Always. It's always about manager and how quickly and what will they do with their £1,200 a month. We also revisit their volume mapping. So if you remember that 10cc plan we did, we'll have a look at where we are against that 10cc plan, adjust the plan accordingly. Results-based workbook, it's based on results. If you're not getting the results, go back, fill in the gaps. And if you're getting results, it will be easy to duplicate because what you're doing, you're coaching. So we look at it both from the sponsors or the manager's perspective as well as the new team member's perspective. When we coach it in our team, It's not just what you do with a new person, it's what you are doing yourself. And for me, that's the power of this tool. It includes everybody. It's not just for that person, because it builds your skills and your focus, and it's results driven for everybody. We train it, we do webinars, we do Sizzle, so training at home. Everything you need to get to manager is in this book.
There you have it. What a clear-cut explanation of how to train your new FBOs. You know, this is also a great tool. The First Steps to Manager book is a great tool to re-energize your own activities. So even if you've been in the business for 20 or 30 years, it's a great idea to go through the book yourself and act like you're a brand new business owner and set your goals, set your time, make a list of names, and go through that same process. You'll be surprised what it can do for you. Well, it's time for us to close. We thank you for attending and for taking the time to learn more about how to build your forever business. I can tell you from personal experience, it will be worth it. So we encourage you and wish you all the best as you work to build your forever business, and say bye for now.